Okay, so welcome. So as you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat or just by speaking them.
Maggie, this is Esther.
Hello, Esther. Hello.
I have a couple of questions about thinking.
Yes.
One is, I find that I'm not drawn to watch television or engage in regular entertainment very much. But one thing that I'm drawn to do is play like video games, particularly like solitaire or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I find that it is a calming, it calms the mind. But is that like an escape, or is that a legitimate way to calm the mind?
It could be that behind this activity there is a thought that something is needed, maybe. Maybe it's an old thought that then we have developed a habit. The best way to find out is not to engage in that and see what happens. You can try to find out for yourself. What if you don't, for example, play solitaire? What if you pick up a book by Jean Klein or just go for a walk or just look out the window? So that's the best way to find out. I would say that there are other things available to you and that may have more to them than this activity, because in the contemplation of the self there is a richness, there is a blooming that occurs. In a way, You can't contain it. It somehow reaches out of its own. It spreads, diffuses itself. And we love to be creative. Creativity is a wealth in creation, in creating without any personal intention, just the joy of creating. So I would consider more creative activities. Painting, learning how to play an instrument, just explore. Something else that's more creative. But the answer to your question will come to you if you stop doing this activity and see what happens, see how you feel.
Thanks. Thanks. I'll save your questions for later.
Okay. Okay, Esther. Thank you for your question, Esther. Sometimes we engage in some activities that are some sort of avoidance of just being still and being empty, present, absent. And there comes a point where it doesn't matter what you are doing. And you will know that if, for example, you are engaged in some activity and somehow this activity abruptly ends, you're still okay. You don't need it. You can enjoy it, but you don't need it. Now you enjoy something else. But if you get annoyed when you're engaged in some activity and something is interrupting and you get annoyed, then at that moment, you have reduced yourself. And the attachment to an object or to an experience doesn't come from consciousness. It comes from the impression that there is something that I need. But consciousness is not in the need business. It doesn't need. And when you don't need, everything comes to you, which is quite amazing. When you're not desiring, there is such abundance. And when you are desiring, then you are experiencing from the onset, a lack. Which is the separate, the objectification of the world and of the subject. Which is thought, mind, the infinite forms and shapes, the many names and labels. So any question? No, not that.
Hi. A bit of an observation and maybe a question in it is I noticed that over time I've lost interest in peak experiences, so to speak. Like I've never bungee jumped, but that would be that's one that comes to mind, you know. Or psychedelics, or I don't know, dancing in a nightclub where it's over the top with the spinning lights and things like that. Mm-hmm. Those have fallen away. And then I find that even the normal things like so many people are into eating a perfect diet. And I find that falling away too. Like, you know, I shouldn't mix my nuts with, you know, fruit or whatever it is. Or, you know, maybe I should eat no dairy because somehow maybe that really is better, or stuff like that. So it's almost like the whole panoply of wanting a better experience seems to be falling away in that sense. Maybe you could comment at all on that.
Yes. What takes place of our fascination with the world and the body, the mind, is our love, which is freedom. The freedom from the world, body, mind. And the peace that the freedom is, the peace and the freedom and the well-being are unopposed. The mind is resting and clear. So your joy and your enjoyment is beyond. It's not in what you do, or from what you do. It celebrates. But it celebrates from your absence, not from your objectification, not of your subject-object relationship. It's the celebration already that is the peace that already is, and is not as a result of anything that you are doing or not doing. So there is the invisible dimension of the peace and the well-being and the happiness. That is what comes to the forefront. And there is the marvel, the awe of being. And it's an uninterrupted marvel, an uninterrupted wonder, wonderful wonder, which is the wonder of consciousness, that somehow, in some like way that completely is not of the mind, that somehow there is what we call speaking, perceiving, being, sharing, breathing. But it's all as your absence and from your absence. And it never materializes. It remains the infinite, invisible ether of being awareness. Which you could refer to as God consciousness, or dissolving in God's grace. So the material realm, the world, body, mind realm, the phenomenal realm, dissolves in presence, dissolves in the self. And there isn't an arising. Where would arise? What would arise from where and to where?
Something I've noticed is that, like, where I could get stressed out over things and then do breathing exercises to come down to relax that or something. If I'm out of that whole paradigm of things are stressful and whatever, that I'm the body, seems like then the breathing is the breathing is just going along nicely, and it's not needed as a restorative activity, something like that.
Yes, yes, but it's important to remain real to oneself, and it's possible that whatever is arising no longer takes you on a roller coaster ride.
Right.
It's as if it wants to, but there is no passenger. So then, yes, then what restorative? Restore what? There is nothing to restore. On the other hand, when there is a passenger and there is a somewhat of a roller coaster ride, the breath is this invisible realm, and yet it is. One cannot deny that. Whether we call it breath or prana or whatever we call it, it doesn't matter. That invisible phenomenal realm that is among many other realms, but it is, I would say, the most etheric that's available to us as a vehicle. Because then the breath has really no boundaries. I mean, in thought we say, yeah, the lungs oxygenate, etc. But that's a thought. In the actual experience of breath, it is a formless, borderless, phenomenal realm, which is a little bit of an oxymoron to say it's borderless and infinite and limitless phenomenon.
And it's a realm. The word realm is a funny one, yeah.
But in a way it is. Because once you disrobe the breath from all thought and beliefs, even from the concept breath, you come to consciousness. It's just really denude your whole mentation out of the breath. So it just remains the non-verbal, non-mental, not knowing dimension.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That explains it a lot. A lot of times in reading over the years, I see, Rumi or somebody will say, speaking as the divine, like, come to me, be with me. I'm closer than the breath. And yet the breath is the subtle, a subtle vehicle.
Yeah.
So
it's a good image because the breath is closer than close. But then closer than the breath, you're really referring to nothing that you can name, nothing that you can conceptualize.
So something that really, good.
Because you can still conceptualize the breath, you see.
Something that really fascinates me in this kind of a theme in what you say is that there's a place where you kind of let go, so to speak, in a more profound way, and it's like it's almost like a glass ceiling of, well, I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing well. I'm not really buying into the dream or the illusion, but there's something about, I guess I call it letting it all happen, maybe something like that. Or
if you are doing pretty well, then you're not letting it happen.
right.
You're interfering with you're adding in me, you're adding a thought, and you're adding some measurement, some evaluation, some valuation. And you have introduced good and bad, better and worse in the realm. So thank you. Okay, I just received a question from Tyoyosa-san. I will come to your question in just a minute, Tyoyosa. So you have to be watchful that this letting go is a complete letting go. It has to let go as well of you, the letterable, that is letting go, also is let go. And the letting go is, it's like it keeps expanding. It keeps widening and widening. The letting go is infinite. It keeps broadening, as if the wings of letting go they keep expanding and keep widening and deepening. There's a lot of subtlety to letting go. And you can keep on going deeper and deeper in the letting go, in the subtle remnants, the subtle layers, so that all your intention dissolves in the letting go, and you really don't know. You are the complete not knowing. And the not knowing, this not knowing is so it's your totality. You are completely this not knowing, with a complete absence of any desire to know. It's a not knowing that has obliterated completely any tendencies to know, which refer to a knower. And there's a peace, the peace of not knowing, because the absolute not knowing has completely let go of all objects. Because there is no more knowing tendency within the not knowing. And so all knowing refers to objects, refers to some form or the other. But the not knowing is absolute of itself. It is void of forms or of objects that it is overlooking or missing.
This sounds a little clever to say, but I think it's I still feel like maybe it's true that knowingness itself is complete not knowing.
Yes, the knowingness that we talk about in terms of consciousness is knowing, awareness.
Right.
Is complete not knowing, because it has no separate object to it. The very substance of consciousness is knowingness, but it's a knowingness that has no opposite. So it's a knowingness without not knowingness. Or you can call it not knowing without knowingness. What doesn't matter any longer, as long as it's absolute. But not knowing is more in line or in tune with the sadhana of releasing and letting go and dissolving and the openness. It's more in harmony. Not knowing is more in harmony than knowing. We talk of knowing to refer to point to the reality that knows that is not an object. Because in our experience, in our dualistic experience, we experience a knower and a known. We experience a perceiver and a perceived. So we are in this mental realm of knowing. So then we point to say, okay, notice that knowing doesn't belong to the body because the body is known. Knowing belongs beyond to consciousness. So there are like different ways of approaching the teaching, but they're all complementary.
Right, I see.
Speaks from many, many different angles. And you understand what is being shared in that very moment that is being shared and how it's being shared and what it is referring to. At a different point in time, it could be a completely different conversation.
Right.
Still speaking to that from a different angle.
I was thinking about, I put a post on your page about from Anomalai Swami talking about Ramana's teaching, and it made me, after posting it, I was thinking about it, and then I remembered Ramana. There's a teaching that you have to be like a tiger and like a monkey. The tiger is completely king, and the monkey clings, and you have both. I mean, at a different moment, you talk about the different aspect. Maybe it makes.
Yeah, I'm sure that when Ramana was sharing that, it was very clear, what
he meant to whom,
what he was pointing to. There is a determination, we need to be clear about what is it that we want. What
right?
Really matters to us, because the pull and the magnetic force of dualities of the world so strong that we really need to be fierce in a way, like Manjusri, spirit, that we're really clear about what is it that we want, and then to walk that walk, the walk of consciousness as consciousness. That requires an inner strength and an inner resolution that is not easily swayed. I remember years ago, I used to have a job, life, and family, whatever, but it didn't matter what was going on in my world. When it was time for me to go to retreat, I just went to retreat. And if it meant whatever comes along with taking time off and expenditure and so on, and it was and I recall people telling me, asking me about it, but it was not subject to what discussion? It was
debate. Not subject to debate.
It was not on the table. There was they were talking to themselves. There was no and also it's not just retreat, it's also how you are living and what you are applying yourself to. What is it you're truly loving? And so that there is a certain, you could say, fierceness, strength, inner resolution, determination, inner conviction that comes from our love, not a mental, not a conceptual. And then when we live that, it proves itself. It gives you the indication that yes, you are moving in the right direction. Maybe not right away, but if you are perseverant, you will.
Image comes to my mind of the, there's some Zen masters or Chan masters who would die sitting up in the meditation hall, just unmovable, sitting unmoving and die. and one even, they made a plaster of him right after he died, sitting there unmoving. And it was quite a beautiful, I haven't seen the image in a while, but it was quite striking.
Yeah. As you know, I came from the Zen tradition.
You know what I'm referring to? Just the image came that being unswayed, it's like, because it's kind of like letting go of all the false or all the relative, or the Buddha sitting under the tree.
A couple of things. There is when you hear the teaching, when you are really open and you can hear the teaching and comprehend what is being shared, it goes straight to the source. You could be sitting, you could also be sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting. But one drop of nectar that penetrates you, that you're able to receive, to comprehend, is like 1,000 years of sitting. I have sat for many, many years because there was somehow that is what awoke in me from the onset, and that's what became available to me in a way. But I would say that all these years of sitting were preparation to receive the wisdom, to comprehend the wisdom. Not that is needed, that you need to do years of sitting. What I'm trying to say is that when truth comes to you, when the teaching comes to you and you comprehend it, it's like laser-like. It goes right past all the seeming obstacles, right through them, to the core, to the heart. Okay, Ananda, I'm going to look at the Kyoyosa-san question. Kyoyosa-san, so you write, why do I feel like I am going to betray God when I put some personal goals for my life? This is very good, by the way, Kyoyosa-san. Very good that you feel that you're betraying God when you are loving, when you are attaching yourself to experiences, to personal goals. The reason why you feel you are betraying God because you are not looking in God's direction. You are not looking at what is my reality, what is the reality of consciousness. You have assumed that you are Kyoyosa-san. You assumed that you are this person. And therefore, you have betrayed God. In this assumption, you have accepted a personal reality, a personal power. You have assumed a personal self. And in assuming the personal self, you are overlooking the universal self, God's self, the universal consciousness. You are overlooking the truth, the reality of what you are, the reality that God is. So you need to contemplate, what am I truly? What is my reality? What is God's reality? Am I that perceives? Am I a personal body-mind? Am I a form? Delon, I'll come to your question in a minute. Dolores. Oh, Dolores. Hello, Dolores. Okay, you also write to Yosa-san, I'm reading. You say, even the simplest ones, the simplest personal goals, make me feel nervous and as if I am doing something wrong or against God's will. This is very good. You are very fortunate that you have these feelings, because many people don't. Many people, they continue to chase objects, relationships, situations, experiences. They don't feel that they are betraying God. They don't feel like they're doing something wrong. They don't feel nervous. They feel like, yes, I need to ride that horse faster and faster and faster. And the harder they ride that road, the further away they are from God. So you need to ask yourself, what is the reality of my experience? What is the source? What is truth? When you ask this question, keep this question open. Don't answer it, because so many answers will come to you from the mind, will come to you from thinking. But these sorts of questions are not thinking questions. What am I truly is not a question to think about, but it's the question to observe, to contemplate, to keep it open in your life, in everything you do. What am I? What is my reality? What am I truly? Because that is how you are calling God. And because God is closer than close, God hears you. And when you say, what am I truly? You're not looking for anything. You just are interested in the truth. And at some point you love the truth. You cannot live without the truth. You really want to know the truth. Not in order to become a richer man, a better person, a healthier or wealthier person. None of that. It is just a passion for truth. Because deep down within you, you know that is what matters. So you are very fortunate that you have these inklings. And I pray you contemplate, what is my reality? What is God's reality? What am I truly? And continue to go deeper and deeper in that contemplation. Dolores, you're right. I feel like I comprehend the teaching, but I feel like I can't let go of material world. How can you comprehend the teaching and still feel you cannot let go of the material world? Your comprehension is theoretical. It is not a real comprehension. If you really comprehend the teaching, you are the teaching. You're living the teaching. It's not enough to have a theoretical comprehension that, yes, I am not the self, I am not the body mind, I am the self. You have to, this comprehension has to be lived, meaning if it's not already alive in you, if it's not already what is leading you, what is shining in you, then you have to live as if you are the self. Even though it's not fully experienced within you. Live as if you are universal consciousness. So when you perceive, you are perceiving, it is consciousness that is perceiving through you. When you are talking to another, you recognize the other as that very same consciousness that I am. And the light that shines through their eyes is the same light that shines through your eyes. In consciousness, there is no separation. So you live as if the other is yourself. Also, consciousness is neither a man, a woman, neither rich or poor, neither successful or not non-successful, neither famous or not famous. Consciousness is the reality of the self, is the truth of me. So when you are living and you have a personal interest in your image and becoming famous and becoming known and becoming more spiritual and becoming more enlightened, all of that is about your personal self. All of these thoughts and these images refer to you as a mortal body mind. When the teaching is very clear that what I am is not what I perceive. I am the reality that perceives. If I perceive an oak tree, I am not the oak tree. If I perceive a body, I am not that body. If I perceive a sensation, I am not that sensation. If I perceive a thought, I am not that thought. And the thought that arises does not know you. So the thought that arises that says, I can't let go of the world, I cannot let go of myself, I cannot let go of the body. How does that thought know anything about you? What is that thought saying, I can't, I can't, I can't? What is this I that is in that thought? We believe that the thought that says, oh, I am beautiful, we say, oh yeah, that's great, I love that thought. The thought that comes, oh, I am ugly, I don't like that thought. But the thought knows nothing about you. It is you who chooses to believe a certain thought and mistrust other thoughts. I would say neither believe them nor mistrust them. Simply understand that no thought can know you. No feeling can know you. No sensation can know you. What you are is not a phenomenal form, is not in the phenomenal realm. You are consciousness. You are the reality of consciousness, awareness, beingness, presence. And that cannot be known. That cannot be improved or lessened. Only what we refer to as forms can be improved or can deteriorate. But consciousness is not a form, is not in that realm. So it cannot be improved, nor can it be deteriorated. When we say I, you need to be clear that the I that you refer to is the reality of consciousness. whatever it is that is real, that is perceiving through this body-mind. And the I that perceives through this body-mind does not depend on the body-mind. Only chooses to perceive this perception, this screen right now, through the body-mind. But is not bound by the body. It's not like it must look. It chooses to, out of its freedom. And you will not comprehend that until you get to know yourself, meaning to know yourself as that. So the contemplation is the contemplation of what am I truly, what is my reality? And the contemplation of letting go. Simultaneously. You're letting go of your beliefs, you're letting go of your stories, you're letting go of the past, you're letting go of your attachments to your feelings, you're letting go of your addictions. You have to trust this letting go. In most cases, we're afraid of letting go. We believe we've been holding on for so long, and we believe that our safety depends on holding on. We hold on to each other in relationships. We hold on to money. We hold on to status. We hold on to image. And the more we hold on, believing that this is where our happiness lies, the more disappointed we will be. Because in holding on, you are limiting yourself. But in letting go, what limitation is there in letting go? So, keep on going deeper and deeper, Dolores, in the teaching. Live them. You have to live the teaching, live your comprehension, live the sharing that I am consciousness. Live as consciousness and see how it reveals itself in your life, in how you live it. And if you cannot let go of the material world, ask yourself, how come? Maybe I could. Maybe it's not true that I can't let go of the material world. And what are you letting go of? You can't let go of the breath. Body is breathing. You cannot let go of hunger. It comes. When you're hungry, you eat. When you're tired, you sleep. When you feel like calling a friend, you call a friend and says, hello, hey, let's have a cup of tea together. This whole idea of letting go is what's bothering you, but not the fact of letting go. Often the idea is worse than the actuality. You say, oh my God, what's going to happen to me if I let go? Then there is a whole image of like something scary. But in fact, every moment we're letting go. If you think about it, how can you inhale if you don't let go of the exhalation? Right? You let go of the exhalation, then you can inhale. And then you let go of the inhalation, and you can exhale. How can you perceive another perception if you don't let go of the perception that precedes it? Right? In fact, letting go is more our experience than holding on. Letting go is a natural, the consciousness is completely letting go. It has no vested interest in anything. It takes so much effort to hold on. And it's so restful and easy to let go. Hola, Emmanuel. Yes, so Emmanuel, you're right. I'd like to address what I asked you in Messenger. If the essential quality of consciousness are peace, joy, and happiness, why in human experience these qualities seem to be veiled? Why would consciousness want to experience its own lack and the suffering that comes with it? It seems a contradiction, at least a language contradiction. Yeah, I had printed your question, Emmanuel. I was going to address it in just a minute, but it's now that you're posing it, we can talk about it right away. What is it that suffer? What is suffering? When there isn't a thought that arises. What suffering are we talking about? So in the arising of the thought, of the I thought, there is suffering. What is it that perceives this I thought? How do you experience an I thought, the me thought? You have to be quiet. Be really quiet. I could answer your question in many words. But what's the point? What is it that hears these words? There is an assumption that there is a person, but there isn't. And what's really, really wild is that if you look even for the assumption, even that you won't find. In order to experience the assumption that I am a person, you have to be interested in not looking. Because it is in not looking that there is this impression that I am a person. But as soon as you look, there's no person to be found. And you find that often in our life, we keep ourselves busy. It's just so we don't look. We don't want to be quiet. We don't want to be still. We may even be scared of silence. Because in this silence, we may realize that it's all a mirage. There is no contradiction in consciousness. Consciousness doesn't experience a separate self. Never has. Good question. What is it that experiences a personal self? No one. Try it. Try to find the experiencer of the personal self. It's like trying to find the experiencer of Santa Claus, or trying to find the experiencer of the pink flying elephant. Your question sounds like it's a real question, but it's not a question. There is no question in your question. You believe there is, but there isn't. What are you going to do with that now? You're going to stay with the contradiction? What is the contradiction? You only perceive this thought, this current thought. What contradiction is there in perceiving a thought? The thought arises, says, oh, there is contradiction. Does that mean that there is contradiction? A feeling arises, says, ah, there is confusion. Does that mean there is confusion? It's a good question. Maybe there is just a sensation, just this thought. And when you look for the thought, it's not there. When you look for the sensation, you're not sure what you're finding. There is an impression of some concrete reality. There is an impression that there is a contradiction. There is an impression that there is a person. But what's an impression? We say impression, and the word itself, the concept impression, seems like it's referring to something. I could say pink flying elephant. It's these words, they seem to be referring to something, but what are they referring to? Nothing really. The question you say, well, in human experience, these qualities seem to be veiled. What is a human experience, Emmanuel? It's a good question. I'm not saying there is no human experience, but what is it? What is your human experience? Where would you go to answer this question? What is my human experience? Where would you go? You would go to your history book? You would go to your mother, to your father, to your friends, to your girlfriends, to your partner. Where would you go to say, what is my human experience? When you say my human experience, you're only going into thought, right? And what thought are you going into? You're not going anywhere. A thought is arising. You say, oh, you're going into thought. Where are you going? You're not going anywhere. The thought arises and dissolves, right? So it's just this current thought, and when you go to the thought, it's not there. You only find consciousness. So what is this human experience? We talk of a human experience as if there is a reality besides consciousness. There is consciousness and there is a human experience. As if they're on the same footing. It's like saying, well, there is the pink flying elephant and there are these glasses and they're on the same footing. They're not. The pink flying elephant doesn't exist. We need to slow down. Be quiet, be still. Look directly at your current experience and ask yourself, what is the reality of my experience? Not what is my experience. Because when you say what is my experience, thought would say, well, my experience is satsang and had dinner, breakfast, and I'm going to the movies, I'm going surfing, I'm going swimming, blah, 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 blah. Because thought is always directed via the senses. So it's not the question, what is my experience, but what is my reality? What is the reality of consciousness? What is it that is really real in my experience? Meaning that does not change, that does not come and go. Okay, Manuel, thank you for your question. Hello, Maria. So, Maria, you're right. I would like to ask about choosing. When there are 3 paths to take, what is my role in deciding which path? The Sufis say, tie your camel before praying to God. Which camel to tie and where? I didn't notice the Sufi expression, tie your camel before praying to God. You have 3 camels, Maria. Well, first of all, I would say that whenever you have to choose God. Choose truth. Now, let me get to the realm of your question. When you are making a choice, Maria, you are doing a couple of things. You are gathering information about the various options that are available to you. You are listening, you are looking and listening to the information that's coming to you. And also you are looking and listening at what is happening within you. And that is very important, to be listening to what is happening within you. Is there peace within you? Is there happiness within you? Is there a yes within you? Or is there a contraction within you? Is there an uncertainty within you? Is there an unhappiness? So, in making a decision, making a choice, you take your time in gathering the information. Some information, it comes to you, oh, I need to find out how long it would take to do such an activity. Or a question may arise to you, oh, I need to find out how much money this option A versus option B versus option C would cost me. So there are thoughts that arise to you. And these thoughts are inviting you to look at them and to honor them, find some truth in them, or disregard them. There might be some thought that comes down to you that says, oh, something really bad will happen to you if you choose option A. That thought that comes to you with a feeling of fear may have validity to it or may not. It may have validity because maybe the thought is, I'm going to go live in Afghanistan and they have a war going on in Afghanistan. So it makes sense to be scared or to be worried or to be concerned about going to live in a country where they still have not made peace and there is a lot of turmoil. But there may be a thought that may be scary to you that does not have an actual validation to you. It's just you're concerned about what will happen to me. There is no actual data that is available to you that something may be happening to you. It's just this fear of change, which is strictly psychological. Because there is no fear of change. Change can happen at some time in our life. Change happens in all our lives. It happens in the weather. It happens everywhere. So coming back to your question, you are gathering data. You are listening to the thoughts that are coming to you, and you are also comparing. You're comparing those various options, and you're also listening. You're listening from within you. How does it resonate within you? There is no rush. Sometimes we think we need to make a choice, we need to make a decision, but maybe we don't. We're still waiting. Now, sometimes you have to make a quick choice. You may be living in a house and you're renting, and the owner now is selling it, and is selling it in September, and sent you a notice saying, okay, August 15, you have to be out. So in this case, you really have to make a decision well before August 15. And so it's not like there is nothing pressing. There is a pressing issue. But oftentimes we don't have a pressing issue. We're just looking at, okay, well, I'd like to move somewhere, or I'd like to close my business. I'd like to, sell this or buy that. And we're looking, and there's still time to, now, if there is time, it could be that there may be a situation where there is no time. You need to make a decision before the bank forecloses on you or whatever. In that case, there is more of an urgency. But when there isn't an urgency, you're still gathering the information and you're still getting the data. Also, there are other people involved in your life. You need to bring them in as to be part of the conversation. You need to also invite them to be honest with you and with themselves, meaning to be listening to you and to also listening to themselves, what's happening within them, and to be sharing, as well as sharing their concerns and their emotions. And hopefully there are no hidden agendas. So you invite an honest, loving discussion, and you keep inviting that. You invite it from within yourself by leading with your own honesty and your own sincerity. And this is how you invite the others to be also sincere and honest. And you also invite the spirit of fairness. If there are other people involved, you don't want to take advantage of anybody. You want to make a decision that, as much as possible, is fair for everybody. So you are looking at all these options in the spirit of fairness and taking into account all who is involved, the parties that are involved. Now, sometimes what stops us in making a decision is we worry, oh my God, what's going to happen to the others? When, for example, it's time for you to retire, you're tired, you want to retire, and there are a lot of people who depend on you, you do your best to make the transition to your retirement so that the people whose livelihood have been dependent on you can also be, to a certain extent, transition smoothly. But besides doing your best, you cannot live your life to just with the concern about, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to them. Maybe you have plans with your family and so on to retire and whatever it is. I'm just talking theoretically. In that case, you do your best to think of the others and do what you can for them. But they will be okay without you. You don't need to worry. They will be okay without you. Now, it is possible that at some point in time, you have to make a decision. And you're still not sure. You don't know. You don't know if it's A or B. You're divided. But you must make a decision. And in this case, you have to make the decision today. Route A and Route B look the same. You could flip a coin. And what matters is that whatever decision you make, whether it's A or B, that's the best decision you could make at this time based on the information that you have available to you. No regrets. You make the decision and you let it go. You just move in that direction without looking back, without regretting, and without internal psychological I should have, I would have, if only. None of that. You just move forward in your life. Okay, Maria, I hope I addressed as best I could your question. Oh, you say, is there really such a thing as right or wrong? Right or wrong? You will know within you, Maria, if you listen within yourself, you will know if how it feels. Happiness for everybody is more right than happiness just for oneself. So there is, the more you are taking in account the parties involved, more you are contemplating the principles of fairness and inviting all the people to be part of the conversation. The happier the outcome. But it's a moment by moment. You can't have a rule about it across the board. You don't know how it's going to go. But you have the intention, and you try to live your intention as best as possible. And then it goes where it goes. You never know how it goes with the parties. You don't know. You remain open. You invite everybody to comprehend our connection, our globality, and people will comprehend that to various degrees. And so be it. Okay, Maria. Okay. Yes, thank you, Tom. I just wanted to mention that lately there has been conversations about having more frequently retreats, and my schedule has been busy, still is, but I'm moving towards lightening my schedule to make more space and more room for meeting in retreats. I already scheduled, we meet here every Saturday, and I scheduled a one-day retreat on April the 14th. There are people who regularly attend the gatherings here on Saturday. Everybody's welcome. If it's available to you, it will be a one-day retreat, and we'll see how things will unfold with more frequent retreats during the coming times. Well, it's very lovely to be with you all. Thank you for your lovely company, for your questions, your love, and your friendship. So I'll see you all soon. I'm sorry, Esther. You did have another question, but maybe we'll go over it on Sunday or so. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.